Hello, hello, and we are live. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Hello, YouTube. We are live on all the platforms. Early Years Heartland. Hello, and good afternoon to everyone out there. Let's see. We're just going to wait for a few of our viewers to come in. All right, we have people on Instagram already. Hello, learning community. And our guest is right here. Okay, we'll just wait for a few more people to come on and then we can start. So how is everyone? How are we doing? How is the lockdown? How are we getting ready to get back to school or to nursery for those with children in the early years? And for those with children above 6, how are you getting ready to get into the new routine? We are ready to bring you as much information as we can give you to help you ease nicely into the new routine of school. Okay, please tell us where you're watching from. Okay, can you tell us your name? Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us, and please be encouraged to send in your comments. Today we will be looking at preparing early years children for easy transition. So what parents can do to get their children ready to come into the nursery, to go to nurseries. What can parents do at home to get the children prepared? Okay. Well, today we're going to be having a guest, one of my colleagues. She is a practitioner, she is a personal tutor, she has worked with children and parents for quite some time. And today she's going to be bringing us valuable and practical tips on how parents can work with their children to get them ready for nursery. Okay, so I will just have Cassie. I'm just going to have Cassie come on now, and Cassie will be speaking to us. Okay. All right, so we're just waiting for Cassie to join us. All right, let's see. Please, if you're live with us right now, can you kindly tell us your name, tell us where you're watching from, and please feel free to drop your comments. We're waiting for you, and it's going to be a power-packed session. You don't want to miss this, okay? So we have Cassie in the house. Cassie, are you there now?
I'm
okay.
here.
Very good. Let's have Cassie come on.
Hi.
Hello, Cassie.
Hello,
It's
okay?
nice to have you here.
Thank you.
It's nice to be here. I'm actually waiting for you to come on Instagram.
Yeah, it's showing that it's just loading.
Okay. All right. So tell us, how are you, Cassie, and how do you feel about all of this? Like, you know, it's really great to have you here, and I've been looking forward to this day. And I believe that our parents out there are anticipating and, you know, looking forward to getting great value from us tonight. So tell us, how do you feel about all of this? And
yeah, I think it's good. It's really nice to connect with yourself and different practitioners. And I think it's really important in these times that we kind of all pull together and, you know, share the things that we know so that, you know, maybe one person is struggling with something and someone else has something that might help them. So we all share in our ideas and our experiences to kind of help get through this time. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really glad that, you know, there are platforms like yours and things bringing people together so we can all be a support network.
Yes, and you said it's so early years. Let me just talk a little bit about early years Heartland. Probably should have done that before you came, but it's fine because we're just going to be having our conversation, and I'm hoping that the parents out there can relate to the things we say because we're speaking as parents, we're speaking as practitioners, so that way we'll be able to touch down on some of the aspects and some of the concerns that our parents have with regards to resuming and sending their little ones back to nursery I'm a
Yeah.
parent who has a child in the early years, and I have children in school as well. And I know I know the challenges I face. So I can only imagine what many parents out there are also facing. So I'm hoping that at the end of today, we will go back, parents will go back with so much information that they can, apply to their homes, apply with working with their children. And that's what Early Years Heartland is all about. Just bringing knowledge, just sharing knowledge and sharing tips that will help parents to work better with their children, that will help educators to work better with their children, to just bring out the best in the little ones. It's a time
Yeah.
in their lives when it's a very critical time and that they need all the care. And so, whatever information that we can give out there to help any and everyone working with this group of children is valuable. So, thank you again for coming on the show. So, on Instagram, we have we have the Learning Community NG from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming on here. And on Facebook, we have Temi Tope. Wow, thank you so much for joining us here. Well, I want to believe that we'll have more people join us as we go on. So if you're watching the replay, please feel free to still drop your comments. We will reach out to you, and feel free to please tell us where you're watching from. If you haven't joined the community of Early Years Heartland and you are a parent who has children in the early years, I would encourage you to join. Be a member of a community, be a member of a group of people who can guide you with working with your little one. Okay, so Cassie, would you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll just get right into it.
Yeah, so my name's Cassie. I first started off working in family support, so supporting mums going through a variety of different times in their lives, and helping them with their children. Sometimes like the mums were relocating and things like that, so we'd get them into schools and get them set up and really looking out for their emotional well-being. And then after that, I decided I wanted to become a teacher. So I went back to university, studied to become a teacher. And then shortly after that, I moved out to Dubai. And then I've been in Dubai for many years working as a teacher. And now I've just opened up my own education business where I'm still supporting children and families and also doing private tutoring. So I'm kind of bringing the two together now from my family support background and my teaching background. And I'm marrying them together because I've kind of identified that in order for children to excel academically, we have to take care of all those the emotional side of it, family life, those kind of things. So I'm bringing it together to kind of support the whole holistic child.
Fantastic. And honestly, I see what you do, Cassie, and it's amazing. Beyond social media, okay, beyond what we do or what we put out there for the rest of the world to see. We know how much work we do at the background, supporting parents. And I think at this time, partnership with parents and teachers and practitioners and educators is golden with regards to supporting children during this pandemic. And that brings me to, let's just go right straight into the topic. What can parents do to support their children? Now, with an emphasis on the early years. Okay, because I see that there's a lot of information out there, children going back to school, going back to secondary school, going back to primary, going back to, other, sectors of learning. However, for early childhood, we're kind of like pushed to the background, you know what I'm saying? So it hurts my feelings. But however, I think that early childhood educators have kind of stood up and taken the bull by the horns, and they're not letting go. And this is so priceless because we know the value that early childhood education gives to individual. So thank you so much for everything you do, and please keep doing what you're doing. I see Rhoda. I see you. Thank you so much for joining. Rhoda is one of my mentors. She is amazing. He's amazing. I see you, and thank you so much for being here. I see Tokumba Ojo who's joined us. Thank you so much for being here. All right,
Hi.
so
If you have a VPN on your phone, I think that's the reason why it's not connecting on the Instagram. I don't know if you have one.
oh, no, I don't. I don't have one.
Oh, okay.
But it says we're waiting for you. So let's see. Okay, could you request to join?
Yeah, I've requested it.
Okay, just a minute here. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Well, on Instagram, this is invite. Waiting for Cassie. Done. Okay. Well, really sorry about this. However, if you are on Instagram or if you're on Facebook, then you should be seeing Cassie. But if you're not on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, I presume you're not seeing Cassie. So let me see what I can do here. Okay, it says you're waiting for you. Okay. Well, okay, I'm not sure why that's the case here, but oh well, I'm sorry, Instagram. I'm sorry that this is happening, but let's see. Cassie, do you want to go live and have me here? Let's see. I'm really gonna have to get someone to help me out with this. Okay.
Yeah, I'll see if I can go live on Instagram and then add you.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone, but let's see. Okay,
See if
so
you can join mine and then I can add you in.
okay, so it says go live with. Okay. It's taking you off now.
See if you can click into my live.
Okay, all right, everyone. If you don't mind, if you're on Instagram, I'm just gonna go up for a bit, and I'm gonna go on Cassie's live, and we will be back. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. Okay. All right. I'm smiling for you. All right. See you soon.
Hi,
All right. I'm gonna end the live now. Okay. All right.
Hi everyone, we're just gonna start in a minute. We're just sorting out the joining.
Okay, I got you now. And all right, I just requested to join. Okay, so it's coming there. We're getting there.
Says connecting. It's a good sign.
Yes, it is. Okay. Oh, I should have gotten that music ready. Anyway, all right. Thank you so much, Facebook, for waiting. Oh wow, we have 5 people on Facebook already, and we have someone saying, "Looking forward to this event. Great job, Ifyok and Cassie." Okay, I'm sorry that right now, if you're on the group NES Heartland, I cannot see who you are unless you enable me to see you on StreamYard. So, done. Okay. I'm not sure what's happening with Instagram, but we're unable to connect on Instagram. Cassie, do I still have you there?
is unable to join. Maybe we just go ahead with the Facebook one.
Yes,
It's not
so
connecting.
go ahead again with the Facebook. Okay. All right. Okay. I think it's I just requested again. Oh,
Sorry,
we
everyone
have
on my Instagram. I'm just
our
trying
channels
to.
working. So maybe there's something we're not seeing here. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, BBN, for that feedback. That was really helpful. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think we just let's just get to the conversation because we have people waiting and eagerly anticipating this conversation. I see you, I see everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. This means a lot. I can assure you, you will go back with great value. Okay. Okay. All right, let's just go right into it. So, in light of our topic today, what should our speakers expect from? I think I've mentioned a little bit, but what do you say they can expect from today?
So today we're just going to be discussing some ideas to help get your child ready to go back to nursery or their early years setting. Previously, like you were saying, there's lots of information about going back to schools. So we'll be trying to make it a bit more specific for younger children, giving some tips to help prepare them and also how to prepare yourself and make that transition a little bit smoother for them.
Yeah, so I think the important thing to note here is that we're reaching out to parents who have children in the early years and educators who also work with children in the early years, because this is a partnership, how you can work with these children to get them ready for nursery. So I usually like to ask, like when I speak to parents or when parents ask me, oh, my child is going back to nursery, what do I do? I like to, just backtrack a little bit and ask myself, what have parents been doing before the pandemic? And what have parents been doing during the pandemic? And that will guide them on what to do now that schools are resuming, and now that children are expected to go back into, to re-engage and, you know, work with children, work with other children and other adults. So you work closely with parents. What are the emotions, how you've communicated with parents? What emotions do parents feel, at this moment when the children have to go back to nursery?
I think there's probably a lot of anxiety happening at the moment because it's the unknown again, We don't know, things are changing every day. So even though things are opening up again, we don't know what's going to happen next week. We don't know how the children are going to adapt to all the new rules and everything. We don't know if those rules could change. So I think there's a lot of anxiety because of the uncertainty. There's probably a lot of fear. Like, are the children going to be safe and well? So a real range of emotions, frustration, because obviously it's been going on a long time now for parents to have to kind of deal with, their children being home all the time, which is obviously going to make everything a lot more tense because the children are just constantly in one space and not really having that away time, that they would normally have if they were going to nursery. So frustration as well, and maybe relief, that, finally, they're opening up, things are getting a bit more normal and that their children get to have those experiences again. So a real range of emotion, and it's going to be, individual to everyone's circumstances and things. But yeah, I think with this, there's no limits to how people are feeling because there's just so much going on.
Exactly. And so you've mentioned anxiety, you've mentioned fear, you've mentioned a lot of emotions. And really, one of the first things I like to tell parents is, look, these emotions, they're normal. It's very normal to feel this, because prior to the pandemic, we go through transitions, right? Like, it's a normal thing. It's September, or it's the beginning of the school year for children. We will go through those transitions. However, I think what has maybe heightened those emotions is that they're going back to nursery in a pandemic. And I think that is that's one of the concerns that parents usually bring up to me to say, look, it's a pandemic. It's not just a normal situation. So the children have been back at home. They've been with you the whole time. They've received the level of care and attention that they probably did not receive before the pandemic. And
Yeah.
so going back to nursery right now is quite a challenge. And if you're out there, can and you have children in the early years, can you share with us what it is you feel at the moment with regards to sending your child back to nursery? How do you feel? Do you feel anxious? Can you share your comments with us, please, if you're out there? We're looking forward to seeing those comments and to um, sharing and helping you go through those emotions in such a way that you will be in the right frame of mind to work with your child and get your child ready for nursery. So, I also want to talk. I also want to look at the effects that the pandemic has had on children generally. So if you don't mind, can you share with us like what effects has the pandemic had on the children you work with? I
Mm.
can talk as a parent and I can talk as a teacher with the children I work with virtually. So, but you go first and let's see what emotions have parents shared with you that the children go through.
I think again a real wide range,
Mm-hmm.
um, and very much similar to the parents. That
Yeah.
that feeling of uncertainty, the anxiety of what's happening. But I think the biggest difference to note for children is that they may not understand. So at least
Yes.
as an adult, you're feeling all these things, and maybe you can't get your head around all these emotions, but at
Mhm.
least you know why they're happening. Whereas for some children, depending on their age, but really in the early years, there's going to be some level of not fully understanding. And that's really hard, to know that all this is going on. I can't go to nursery. I can't see
Yeah.
my friends. I can't go to the park. All these things. I've been home for a month and I don't know why. There's this mystery thing. Maybe, some households spoke about it. Maybe they didn't. But at the end of the day, regardless, they don't have that level of understanding yet to really
Understanding.
comprehend that. So
Mm-hmm.
not only is all this happening, but they don't understand. And then they're having, maybe a higher range of emotions than normal that, again, they can't manage. As an adult, even we felt overwhelmed during all this. So as
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
a child, not being able to necessarily regulate that's
Yeah.
causes it's difficult for them to kind of deal with. So again, you've got the feelings of frustration. Why can't I go out? Why can't I see my friends? Anxiety, what's going to happen next? Fear, am I going to get sick? Is my family going to get sick? This kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just a real range of emotion throughout this time. But hopefully with the aim now things are opening, is to start bringing in a bit more positivity,
Mm-hmm.
feeling a bit more open-minded to what's happening,
Yeah.
when you're talking to your children, removing that fear, and hopefully that they're feeling a bit more positive about things going forward.
Forward, yeah. It's amazing that you mentioned, you talked about the emotions of the children and connected it back to what the parents are feeling. And that's something want to tell, I want to tell every parent here, whatever you're going through, trust me, your child is going through the same emotion. However, what the difference is that you understand those emotions. You understand how to regulate yourself and how to sort yourself out, but your child doesn't. The
Mm.
child in the early years is just getting to understand himself as an individual. So talking about emotions, they probably they cannot even explain how and what they feel. So you're going through anxiety and you're able to regulate yourself and support yourself to stay calm. But the child cannot do that. The child has no idea what anxiety is. All the child knows is that I'm in this situation, I don't like it. And how best do I communicate to my mother, or my father, my parent, that I don't like it? And then you start to see the behaviors Okay, anyway, we're not talking about behaviors now, but it's all about
It's
understanding
signs there that you can look
emotions.
for.
Exactly. Let's just go right to it. Let's consider um, what the childcare options right now would be for parents. So parents have had the children in at home for all this time. And trust me, it's a time that many parents have been looking forward to. Like, oh, when are the nurseries going to open? When are the childcare centers going to open? I just want to send my child to nursery so I can have
Yeah,
some sleep, or I can have some time to actually do my work. Because you know how challenging it is here working with the children and having to face your own work. So it's a time that parents have been looking forward to. But now the time is here, and there's so much anxiety in the air. Like I asked the question, the poll. I made a poll 2 days ago and yesterday on asking parents or asking people, how confident are you to send
mm,
your child back to nursery? And one third of, sorry, well, yeah, one third said no. Said yes,
uh,
confident. However, two-thirds said no, they weren't confident in sending the
yeah.
children back to nursery. And I ask myself, so why is that? Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think that's the case?
Uh, it's hard to say. I think it definitely can be um, a range of reasons. Like it could be either to do with the safety aspect. Is my child going to be safe? Are there measures in place? And at the end of the day, young children are going to not be able to stay as socially distanced as an older child, for example. So there's going to be some element of interaction with other children, obviously, and that
Mhm.
can cause a bit of concern for parents. If they've been socially distancing for a long time, then suddenly
Yeah.
their child's going to be around other children. So there's that
Yeah.
aspect, fear of, is my child safe going back to school? And otherwise it could just be now that they've had their child home with them every day for the past more than 5 months.
Yeah.
Now they feel anxiety about separation. We often talk about children finding it hard to separate from their parents, but it
Mhm.
can be often the other way around as well, that the parents now not ready to let go of their child because they're used to them, or not separating them from them and being
Separating.
with
Yeah.
them every day. So it's like going through that again, like the first day of nursery or first day of school, the first time that you separate, that can be really challenging as well. So it's a lot of it, I think, is to do with the emotional side of it, and worrying about the safety of everything.
Yeah. So and also, looking at the emotional aspect of it, and also considering the psychological aspect of it.
Mm,
Now, it's massive, okay, and there's a whole lot we could go talking about the effects of what the pandemic has been, what effects the pandemic has had on the children. It has affected them, all their holistic development. Okay, so emotionally, physically, children are not able to go outside to play as much as they could. So you need to devise with as a parent to get them active, to get them, moving at home. And emotionally, everyone is trying to understand. The children are trying to understand, why do I have to be at home? Why can I go outside? And then let's look at where a home where the children are in, they have older siblings, and the siblings are going back to school, and they're not going back. I That's my case actually. I have two older ones, and I have a baby who's like, I want to go to school, and she gets dressed with her sisters in the morning, and she can go
uh,
anywhere. So
yeah.
the the effects, we can go on and on and on about the effects. And I know that parents out there, I know that you are looking at your child, and sometimes you wonder, how can I help my child? And now nurseries are finally going back, are finally reopening. How confident are you to send your child back to nursery? And so please, if you could just put your comments in here and let us know how confident you are sending your child back to nursery. And we'll take that up. Now let's look at practical ways. Okay, looking at the option of childcare.
Mm.
Okay, what options? Okay, let me put it like, what options are there for parents now? So nurseries, the government has given guidelines, and the world over, um, government is beginning to, lift up the restrictions with regards to nurseries opening. What options do parents have? The option of just what options do parents have right now?
So I think everyone needs to look at their own circumstances, how they feel about what's happening with the safety of their children. Like, do they feel it's safe for their children to go, or would they rather keep them home? You need to look at, obviously, are you working? Are you able to stay home with your children? You have to factor all these things in. Even where you live, is there space for your children to do their learning at home? Do you have an outdoor area that they can access? These things are really important because you have to weigh everything up. There is obviously a health risk to some extent, but there's also a psychological risk. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're weighing up all options. So, if you've got like good amount of space at home, you've got some outdoor space for them to do their learning in, you could be home with them, then maybe for you that would be the right option. However, it's really important for children to have time outside. So let's say, for example, you're in an apartment and you're not using the outdoor area. I mean, of course, now things have opened up more. You can access public outdoor areas, but that's something you want to make sure that you're doing every day, so that if your decision is that you're not going to send them, which is completely fine, it's completely up to you make sure that they're still getting those other opportunities. So I think it just depends. You can keep them at home, or you can send them into nursery. There's different services coming up now. Like, I know some nurseries are doing like home visits and things like that. You've got online distance learning that some nurseries are sending home, and online tuition and different things. So I think there's a lot of different options in terms of whether you're going to do it at home or you go somewhere. But it's just important that you weigh up all those options, and we're not just thinking academically, we're thinking about the emotional well-being.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention here, okay, so with regards to what the childcare options are for parents, okay, it's important that parents look at their individual situation, like you said. However, what you need to put into perspective is what the need of the child is. Above every other thing, what does your child need? Now, it's great concern to me because I was reading an article from UNICEF the other day that indicated that 40 million children the world over miss out on early childhood education or early education, this is critical, because of COVID-19. 40 million children, like I'm burning. I am like 40 million the world over are missing out of this important aspect of their life. When I looked at those figures, I was taken away. I'm like, what can we do? UNICEF has come up with this. The government has, like, this is it's pathetic. I'm sorry to say, but I wish that the government everywhere, each country, each state, everyone would just see these figures and work with them, because of how critical this stage of development is for children. And it tells a lot as they grow into adults. So I just wanted to put it out there, so as we speak with this number in mind, 40 million children, so bringing it back to the childcare options, okay, for parents out there, decide what it is, then look at what the need is for your child. And that will help you to decide what you do with regards to childcare. And it's one of two things. You either keep your child at home or you either send your child to nursery. Now, if you're sending your child to nursery, what do you do? That's why we're here today. If you're sending your child, if you're caring for your child at home, well, I'll talk about that next week. So you have to be here. But today, let's just focus on what parents can do to get their children back if they choose the option of sending the children back to nursery. It's been 6 months plus now that children have been at home. So let's begin. Let's look at the practical steps now that parents can take to get the children ready? Yeah, let's hit
Yeah.
that off.
I think like number one really is your routine. That is, I don't know if any of you have seen my videos before. I always talk about a routine, but it's just so important. It's really gonna make things and the process so much easier. You know, make sure that they have a bedtime from now, from this evening, making sure that they're going to bed at the time they will go to bed when they're back at nursery. Being that bedtime was appropriate. So, you know, for young children, must be before 8 o'clock at the absolute latest. But, you know, you want to be thinking about 7 o'clock, you know, depending on the age of your child. But I think for all children in the early years, 8 o'clock would be the absolute latest that they should be going to bed. In my personal opinion, and from, you know, research that I've read, they need to have a good night's sleep so that the next day they're not tired and groggy, because you know, if they're tired and they're maybe feeling unsettled about going back to nursery, they're not going to be in the best mood, and it's just going to add to that list of discomfort for them. So start making sure that they're having a consistent bedtime, even on the weekends, to get them into that routine.
Yeah.
Consistent wake up times. So, you know, I don't know what time your children go to nursery, but for example, if they get up for nursery at 6:30, say, but lately they get up at 10:30, this is going to be really difficult for them. It's going to be a massive adjustment if one morning you just suddenly wake them up at 6:30. So you want to gradually start getting them up early and start getting them up at that time that they will get up when they go to nursery. So they're used to their bedtimes and they're used to the time that they wake up as well. So I think that routine, that's really key to make that morning a lot more smoother. Make sure that you're really organized. So, you know exactly what's happening when they go back. You know, you've got their things ready, their bags packed. You're aware of, like, you know, if they're going to take snack or whatever you do on that day, have it all organized ready, because in the morning, if you're flustered about them going back, you're going to make your child really flustered. So you want to be as calm and, you know, ready for it in yourself as you can, because your energy is going to rub off on your child. So you want to have that positive energy ready for the day. So you also need to make sure you're not tired and everything's ready to go. You know, just make it super simple. Like, you know what they're going to wear, you know where their bag is, their water, whatever they need to take, everything's ready. So that morning, you're not in a rush, you're not running late. It's just very calm, very smooth. Those two things, I'd say. Also, talking about it is going to be really key. So, you know, making sure that, you know, often we try and shelter our children from what's going on. And obviously, there needs to be an element of that. And you're only going to tell them things that are appropriate, but at the same time, they're going through it too. So we need to have some level of discussion to try and explain what's happening and what's going to happen. So, you know, what is school going to, nursery, sorry, what is it going to be like, you know? Hopefully you would have had some information from your child's earlier setting saying, you know, how it will work. And that needs to be communicated, because I think especially children who previously went to a nursery and are now going back, because they're going to go back and it's going to be different. That's harder in a sense than children who are going for the first time, because they're expecting one thing and they're going to get there and maybe it's something completely different. I don't know, and it's for each nursery, but it's really important that they're made aware of what it will be like. You know, if they're in bubbles and they, you know, there's going to be less children in your class, or maybe you're not going to see this child when you go back, and that kind of thing. So you're explaining to them as well as you can. They are young, they might not fully understand, but you're giving them that opportunity to be aware that there's going to be a change.
Exactly. And
different, and they can start going through in their mind, even if they don't understand, they're starting to think about, you know, what is it going to be like, and they're starting to picture the things that you're saying, and that's really going to prepare them really well.
And well, talking about communication, open communication is key, because sometimes when we take decisions without involving the children, they kind of feel lost, like, you know, not knowing what to expect. You know, it's a trigger for anxiety. is a stress factor. So when children are in an environment where they understand and know what to expect. So this is the way our brain is wired. It's wired to accept change. Okay. However, expecting that change when you sit down with the child and you discuss with the child, when you sit down and you have that open communication, involve the child in the decisions you're making. It helps the child to be less anxious. So the child understands, oh, okay, I'm going into nursery. The child is prepared for what's coming. So it's when children are taken by surprise. Now, what that does for the child is that it takes away the aspect of security. Okay, so a child needs to feel safe and secure in an environment to be able to be settled. So when that doesn't happen, because the child has no information about what to expect, the child doesn't know what to expect, you take away that base of security from the child. And what happens when you take away a platform that a child is standing on to feel secure? The child falls, and eventually what that results in is expressions of anxiety or fear or frustration, and ultimately parents, we wouldn't feel good about that. So you've talked about routines, open communication, you're talking and discussing with the children.
Mm.
Are there any other things you would want to mention here with regards to getting the children ready?
Yeah. Yeah, leading on from what you're saying about the surprise aspect, that's something that we need to think about, and we need to reduce as many surprises as we can. Children really don't like change, they don't like surprises, and like you were saying, it brings up all of these different emotions for them that they find difficult to manage. So of course there's going to be a change, and we can't control that in the sense that they are going back to nursery if that's what you've chosen. So there's going to be an element of change there, which could provoke some different emotions. But as much as we can, we reduce change. So, for example, that's why I'm saying get your routine in from now, because then they're used to that routine. Then on the day, the only change is that they're going to nursery. It's not that they're suddenly having to get up super early. They suddenly have to get dressed. They're suddenly going to bed early. They should be used to that before they start. So then the only change is, oh, I usually get up at this time. I usually get dressed at this time. But now I'm going out to nursery. So we're minimizing as much change as we can. So you want to think about things. Sorry, go on.
No. Like, the whole conversation is just gets me going. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to shine a little more light on the routine. Okay. So parents out there, you're right now. I want to ask, what are you doing right now before you send your child back to school? What are you doing at home? Does your child have specific bedtime? Now, this is with regards to your home routine. And let me take us a little bit further, because we're talking about getting children ready to resume nursery. Now, you're at home. Your child doesn't have to use a mask, right? You're at home. Your child doesn't need to stay, 2 meters apart from you. You know what I'm saying? However, in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks, you have to send the child to school or to nursery, and he or she has to wear a mask. Now, make it part of your routine, okay? In getting your child ready, okay? Involve the child with these, in making the routines, okay? So for example, have your child wear a mask, maybe role play, that's it. Role play at home. Get your child comfortable with these items, because he or she will go back to nursery and will be expected to wear a mask. That's a different scenario from what he or she experiences at home. So you need to be able to marry both aspects, both home and school. Collaborate. You mentioned earlier that they need to be in contact with the childcare center. Collaborate with the childcare center and find out what it is the guidelines are for reopening, and try to incorporate that into your home routine. That way, your child is not thrown off by the time he or she is going to nursery and is expected to play independently or play in a small bubble or has to wear a mask the whole day. I'll give you an example. So at home right now, when my little one has to wear a mask, doing this role play thing where she gets to wear her mask and gets to identify that this is her personal stuff, okay? Because you don't want the child going back with another mask, okay? So she gets to say, can you tie it for me? Can you tie it? So that she's been able to understand that this is the way I like to wear my mask, and this is the way I feel comfortable wearing my mask. So incorporate all of that in the routine at home. Sorry, I just wanted to put that in since we were talking about routines. It's
Yeah.
important that whatever is going to be happening outside, for example, wearing masks, using hand sanitizers, washing your hands, put a timer at home. Washing hands time, and the child knows, oh, I have to wash my hands often. And I think that will really help to ease the children into the nursery. Sorry, I had just
Yeah.
had to put that there.
No problem. The
Right.
other thing I was going to say was about listening. Just sometimes just don't focus on talking to your children about it, but sometimes listen to what they have to say. And that's going to give you a lot of cues
Yeah.
regarding how they're feeling about it, and maybe give them that opportunity then to ask questions, or, if they're concerned about anything, it's going to give that opportunity. So, sometimes just your aim would be just to listen, to try, and maybe you're going to ask some questions to get the conversation going, but we need to sit back and listen so we can really, figure out how they're feeling, and how prepared they are emotionally, and if they have any questions. So try and make sure that you're doing a lot of listening. Have patience with it. There may be some behavior issues, some changes in them that you see, and these are all signs of them trying to deal with that change. So
Yeah.
be patient and understanding that they're going through this hard time, and try and work with them through it, help them to regulate those emotions that they're having. And the last thing I was really going to mention on this is that, because obviously there's so many things I could suggest that you could do, but these are just some of the main things. Think about how you're feeling. This is a really big one because, and I kind of touched on it before, that your energy and the way that you're feeling rubs off on your children. So if you're super anxious about them going back to school, then it's very likely that they're going to be anxious about it.
Yeah.
So, and if you're very fearful and you're worried about lots of things, it's all, rubbing off on your children. So just try and be as positive as you can. Talk positively about it, that you're excited, you can't wait to see what the room's going to be like, how different it's going to be, the things that they're going to play with when they're there. So just be really positive and upbeat about it. Even if some days you don't feel like that and you are a bit worried, try not to show that to your children as much as you can. Obviously, you want to be open with your children, but you want them to feel the positive aspects of it. So
Yeah, because they feed off of the emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So just try and, be really upbeat and mindful about the language that you use and the way you say it, when you talk about it, even if maybe you're talking to another adult, be aware, like if your children are listening, if you're saying you're worried about, what if it's going to be safe, and you're worried about this precaution, and they can hear, maybe you think they're doing something else, but they're probably listening. That's all going in subconsciously, and you're building up anxiety for them. So just think about that. Think about how you talk about it and how you feel about it, and address it if you need to. Talk to another adult about it. It's not a problem that you feel that way, but you just need to address it so then it doesn't affect your children.
Fantastic. Okay, so I'm just gonna also, going from what you said about answering or talking to your children, they have questions.
Yeah.
So it's important that you don't shy away from the questions. It's important that you answer them, because when you answer the question, the children feel that, oh, I can always take my problems to you as a parent. So what does this do? I always come back to that feeling of security, because for children in this age group, all what they need, with regards to transitions, is one word: security. Or let me say, one or two words: safety. They need to feel safe and they need to feel secure. And one thing that feeds that security, one thing that helps improve the sense of security in you, is the sense of attachment. When they attach you, they feel that, oh, okay, you can respond to them, you can answer them, you understand their emotions. So it's one word. Let your children feel secure with you. And how do you do this? You identify their emotions, and understand them. And when you do this, acknowledge it, because when you acknowledge it, the child knows, oh, okay, she understands what I'm feeling. Okay, validate it, and then encourage the child, through that emotion. And don't forget that one way children express their emotions, they start asking questions, because they want to understand what it is they're feeling. They want to understand what it is they are going through. And so when they ask these questions and you shy away from them, they're like, okay, she doesn't have answers for me. I cannot, it transcends, it goes beyond just not answering a question. So try as much as possible not to lie to your children, because they'll find out. But answer the questions as honestly as you can. And if you cannot answer the question, it's fine. Just say, you know what? Mommy doesn't know the answer to this question, but don't worry, I'll find the answer for you. You know what? Let's talk about this soon, maybe in about 10 minutes. And then you go back and you find the answer. And that brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about: collaboration with your child's teacher, your child's practitioner, or school. Collaboration, and also leveraging on the professional experiences of the tutors, of the teachers, or people who work directly with your children. And then you find the answers. And then the child knows, great, mommy doesn't know this, but she'll find the answer for me. So it brings them back to that place of security and trust. And that's what you want to have with your child when you're sending your child back to nursery, because you don't want your child going and saying, oh, mommy's sending me here because, and then they start thinking all sorts, and not feeling secure with where they're going. So parents out there, we've mentioned a lot of things. For me, things are just going on in my head, but we've mentioned a lot of things. One of them we've mentioned is routines. Routines have been proven, science has proven how planning and establishing routines help your child. It's important now at this time. You will need to reestablish some routines because things are changing. One thing you need to do, like Cassie, I don't know if it's something that you have a challenge with, or you talk to about your parents about having these meetings with the children, no matter how young, and telling them, look, things are going to change, and something fun is going to happen, and then they're looking forward to it. So it's important that you involve them
Yeah.
in every decision that concerns them, and give them a voice. Now when they have a voice and they feel like they have a say in what's happening to them, I tell you, they'll be more secure and ready to re-engage in the nursery. So yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that. Sorry, I just got
No,
carried
no,
away.
it's fine. No, I completely agree with what you're saying,
Yeah,
especially around the questions, making sure that they feel they can ask questions. And sometimes I think parents can feel overwhelmed by the amount of questions coming in, so they not now, or they don't answer them, or maybe it's a question they don't want to answer, so they just kind of ignore it. But like you're saying, you have to remember that each time you're doing that, you're teaching your child your response when they ask questions, and you're
yeah,
deterring them from feeling like they can. Either they're not going to get the answer that they need, or an answer at all, or they're going to feel like they're being annoying or something. Like, you don't want them to keep asking questions, so you want to keep it open. You can say, like you
yeah,
said, we can talk about this in a few minutes, or I'm not sure, I'll find out and we'll talk about it again, or let's go and ask someone else. So there's ways around it. If the time's not appropriate, make sure you just come back to it, so you keep them really open to be able to speak to you. I mean, it's
mhm,
always been important, but now it's super important that your children
yes,
feel that they can speak to you. And
yeah,
this is at all ages. It doesn't matter how young your child is. Even if your child can't speak yet, they have a level of understanding. So just even from your face expressions, how you speak about things, your tone of voice, your body language, if you speak to your child and reassure them about certain things, they're going to feel so much more safe and secure. So yeah, conversation super important.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I think we have actually we've spoken a lot about the things we can do, but to summarize, I'll just talk about routines. We've talked about routines, number one. So get your routines in place. Get your children involved in planning and reestablishing the routines at home, and try as much as possible to make sure that you inculcate aspects of the childcare center into the routine at home, and you can do this through various ways. Role play, you can do this through dramatic play, you can do it through a lot of, just have those props out there. Through using your props, you can, all the conversations, all you need to do is sit with your child, but just try as much as possible to get those routines in place. Open conversations about their feelings. Ask children, ask them, how do you feel about going back to nursery? Let them tell you how they feel. So, open communication, give your child the chance to at least express what they feel, and be empathic, understand those feelings with them and help them work through it, because at this time they're just learning to regulate their emotions. So support them in that. Number three, we've mentioned we mentioned about parents being ready. So it's important that you're ready, that you ease in your calm, and you are not anxious about the day, because children feed off your emotions, and you don't want to see that happen when they go back to nursery. You want them to know that you're doing the best for them, because when they see that, they kind of like think, oh, mommy's not even sure what she's doing for me, like she's leaving me here, and so they feed off that emotion. Another thing we talked about is working in collaboration with the school or with the childcare center, just so that you understand what guidelines have been put in place for the children to return, and whatever you can replicate at home, you do, just so that as a child comes back to nursery, it's not a totally different environment for them. They can find aspects in the new environment that they're used to already. So it's really important um, to do that. Well, I want to mention screen time. So I cannot just leave without mentioning screen time, because if some parents are like me here, sometimes I'm like, here's the tablet, go, I need to do some work. Um, I understand, and honestly, don't crucify yourself as a parent out there. I don't know, Cassie, do you want to talk about this a little bit? You want to talk
Yeah,
about
I think
you're talking to me right now, because I am a culprit of that, sometimes. But really, we have to be as practical as we can
yeah,
be.
it's a funny one because I'm usually very strict on my views regarding it, in the sense that like you really need to keep it minimal. But to be fair, obviously children have needed it to do distance learning, plus the world crazy, so the screen time's probably increased a bit, which is understandable. But I think now, as things are getting, more normal, and especially if you're actually, even more so if your child's staying at home anyway, you want to reduce it as much as you can. Like usually I would say no more than an hour a day. Now, of course, if your child's engaging in some kind of distance learning or something, then maybe it will have to be different. So it's a bit, I can't be so strict on the time, because I know that obviously there's different circumstances now. But think about the benefit of that time. Like, say if they're having an hour and a half of screen time, 2 hours, if they're doing some kind of distance learning activity, at least they're getting something beneficial from that. Whereas if they're spending 2 hours a day watching some TV program, where they're not interacting at all, they're just sat there, like, just watching it with no engagement, really, that's not beneficial use of the time. Now, one of the key ways to get around this is get your child used to playing alone. We don't always need to entertain children. We don't need to have all these activities all the time. They need to learn to entertain themselves, have toys, and learn how to play. And so many children now don't really know how to play. They know how
Play.
to play a game on the iPad, but they don't know how
Yeah.
to play with their toys. So, encourage them. Maybe you have to model it at first, but you want to get them used to playing by themselves. So
Play.
that time on the iPad is at
Mhm.
least has some benefit. Maybe, they might have 30 minutes, 40 minutes of watching a program of their choice a day, but
Mhm.
then that's a short time of the day. We don't want that continuously. They shouldn't be
Yeah.
having their lunch and watching iPad, for example, because that's just not a productive use of their time. That could be a
Time. Yeah.
time for you to have conversation. So yeah, limit it as much as you can. And if they
Yeah.
are having a lot, just assess what it is that they're actually consuming
Yeah.
and encourage more play instead.
Yeah. All right. So to add to that, okay, I usually just say to my children, no screen time, and this is it. School days, no TV on school days, and that's what they've known right from when they were born. However, I tell you now, so I'm talking as a parent, okay? During the pandemic, we were all at home, and I had to sit back and reassess my routine and say, okay, because we're all at home together, we can have TV time together, as and it's not on a screen, or it's not on an iPad, and it's not on a phone, and it's not on all of that. However, because I have taken out that much screen time, what I do is replace it with something else. So um let me say, how do I put this? Provide an alternative. Okay, so for us out there, if we're talking about reducing screen time, you cannot just take away the screen and leave them there. You need to provide an alternative that will give them or feed their development at that stage or wherever they are. So if you're taking away screen time, which I strongly recommend, give them an alternative, give them anything natural. I tell you, children in their early years, you don't need so much really to entertain them. However, I know that parents have a concern about certain activities, or that they feel the need to always be there with the child. Just give a child a bucket of water and watch the magic. I know that the challenge there is, oh, what do I do afterwards? When all the water is spilled and all that. But that's early childhood for you. Early childhood without messy play, without hands-on activities, is a no-no. So get them outside. Just have them discuss with you. I tell you, you'd be amazed what options they give you to replace the screen time. So speak to them and say, what would you rather do? Would you rather play with water? Would you rather have, messy play? Would you rather have sand play? Would you rather just go outside and run around? And I tell you, most often than not, they will choose. You need to train them actually to be able to accept those alternatives. So please take away screen time and give them other alternatives to learning. And I think you'll go a long way in getting your child ready for nursery.
Definitely.
Okay. So, well, it's been a very nice conversation. Honestly, I tell you, because it's nice to just go over these things over and over again, and because you never know what you're leaving out as a parent. Because sometimes you just get anxious that, oh, I'm leaving out something, and you're not sure. And that brings me to my final question as a parent. When you look at your child, like, how do you know your child is ready for nursery? I would like to see comments on this. I'd like to have feedback from the audience. Tell us, as a parent, how do we know if our children are ready? I'm asking honestly. I want to know. Like, I have considered it, and I'm like, I still look at is she ready? Is she not ready? How do you know if your child is ready?
Yeah, I'll be interested to see some points on it. I kind of think that, you're never going to fully know.
Yeah.
So you can never be fully sure, but there's some signs that you can look out for sure. The way that they talk about it, do they talk positively about it, or is there lots of anxiety and worry there, or saying that they don't want to go, this kind of thing. And it's important to know, even if they're saying they don't want to go, it doesn't mean that they're not ready. They just don't want the change necessarily, but they could still be ready. But definitely, if they're talking a lot about it and they're excited, that's a good sign. If they separate from you, you want to start testing, having time apart. So if they separate well, that's a good sign that they're ready to go. If they're interested in things, they're exploring, they want to find out new things, they're testing different ideas, and say if you go out to the beach or the park or somewhere, they're looking around and trying to find out things and explore, that's a good sign that they're ready to go. So I think you can kind of gauge from your child, once you see them start making those different decisions, you kind of know that they're a bit more ready. But like I said, it's hard to know, but all you can do is, do your best to try and prepare them and get them ready for that step. Independence is a really big one that helps them get ready, that we haven't mentioned actually. And I won't go into it in too much detail because there's so much that we could talk about. But independence, getting them to do things for themselves, that kind of thing, again, you're helping them, become more responsible, a bit more mature for their age. These kind of things will help them. And you'll start to see, if they're wanting to do things for themselves, then that they're ready for that next step a bit more.
So, you talked about encouraging independence, and honestly, I have it here on my book. How somehow we just got carried away with the conversation. Encouraging independence, and look, I want to just tie it back to the routines, and tie it back to providing that secure base for your child, and providing opportunities for the child to explore. Because when you do all of this, you are preparing that child to express his or her own individuality. And this is what children want. You see children start to tell you, I can do it myself, I want to do it myself, I want to do this. And as a parent, sometimes I know it's hard to let go, but just let them be. Give them that sense of independence, because when they get to the nursery, they will be required to express and showcase skills, this skill of independence, which they need. So getting them ready for nursery at home requires that you allow them be themselves. Allow them to express their individuality, allow them to do things themselves, get them to start taking off their the velcro from the shoes, all of these things, these little things matter. And when a child feels confident in his or herself, I tell you, that's one sign to say that, oh, my child is ready to re-engage, is ready to get back to nursery. When a child says, I can do this myself. When a child is excited, okay, fine, it's time to go to nursery, and he or she is, you see him or her pick up his or her stuff and say, I'm ready to go. So these are like practical signs that you can see that your child is ready. So one thing I want to encourage, I have tried this myself, and I actually got this idea from a research I read about. Have a checklist, okay, of what your child needs when he or she is going out. So one checklist is a mask, checklist is your bag, and every day guide your child to go through that checklist to see if he or she has those things in his or her bag. And even if it means taking the child downstairs, taking the child out on a walk, that constant activity of going out and preparing the child to step out is very important. So well, I think we have a lot of comments, and we have gone way past an hour. I would like us to take some comments. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, for joining in. If you're watching it live or you're going to be watching the replay, please still feel free to drop in your comments, and we will reach out to every single one of you. Thank you so much, Kemi Tokwe, for joining in. Tokwe, thank you so much. Kemi, Miss Kemi, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Iman. Thank you, Esther. A lot of people, a lot of valuable comments. I'd like us to take them. Would you like to read some of the comments?
Yeah. So someone here saying that they were looking forward to this event, which is really good. Glad you were looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so let me
Go on, you go on.
Go on. Okay, so Family Talkware here is saying it is going to be hard as they will need to maintain and keep social distancing. But knowing they thrive on reassurance and touch to be in the nursery, I'm really anxious both as a teacher and a parent. Do you want to talk about that? She's concerned about touch. Oh my goodness, this is something.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. It depends on what the nursery's procedures are. I think if you're sending your child back to nursery, I don't know, but I kind of think that you have to be accept that there's going to be an element of, you know, children touching the same things and
Yeah,
potentially touching each other. Obviously, I don't know the regulations for each nursery, but you probably would want to be aware of that, or at least be an acceptance that that's going to happen. And you, like I was saying before, you just have to weigh up the pros and cons for yourself. Me
mm-hmm.
personally, I think the emotional element is getting to the point where it's more important that the children get exposed to these different environments now,
Yeah,
that they're able to socialize, that they're able to explore new experiences, so that they're developing. And, you know, obviously it depends. It's just difficult to say because it just depends on you and how you feel about the situation and what you're ready to do. But I
to
would
do.
say that if they're going in, you have to find a way to overcome that fear of them touching things and touching other children, and weigh up that you're sending your child back to nursery for a reason, and that reason is the important thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So and so that's as a parent, as a teacher, both teacher and parent, it's inevitable. The children will touch things, and children at this. I want to look at the aspect of touch with regards to that emotional need for care, for close contact. They need it, and if you're accepting children back to nursery, then there has to be that level of comfort that you can give to a child. If a child is crying and the child needs to be held, there has to be a way to sort that out. There has to be a way to give that child that emotional comfort that he or she needs. Okay, so the next comment here, she says, but good enough here. So okay, she said from Nigeria, there is no physical resumption. However, there is going to be another level of questioning and frustration because since the older classes may resume physically. I think we talked about this earlier on, where you have children in the older classes resuming and the child in the early years is still at home. Um, so it's about helping the child to regulate his or her emotions there. So we have a Facebook user. So unfortunately, I cannot see who this is. It's here. She says, I think it is also important to keep in mind how this will have an impact on children's psychological well-being and how they behave. Okay, so I think we also touched down on this earlier on. Um, okay, another one is saying, hi everyone, this is good information. Thanks so much for the feedback.
thank
It
you.
means a lot. Thank you so much. It's good to know that we're giving great value here. Iman, hi Iman, thank you so much for joining us again. The early years are very important. Our children are missing out, are missing the base of first step of learning and exploring the world. And it's very true. Remember, I talked about the 40 million children from the research carried out by UNICEF, and I honestly cannot still get my head over that figure. But then, well, I'm hoping that things going forward, things will start to change. Esther says here, discuss the process of change with your children. I love that. Okay, so I think that was when we mentioned how we need to sit down with the children and discuss that um, change is coming and just get them ready for that change. Okay. So Esther says incorporate the universal precaution into the daily practices at home. And we have another user. Thank you so much for making your comments, even though I cannot see who this is. She says this is very important in order to give parents a better understanding of how we as teachers work with their children. but also taking an interest in their children's learning and development is crucial. Yes, it's important that children work together with practitioners to get the learning going, to give the children all that they need to support them towards their holistic development. So someone here says, love that indeed, give them a voice. I think that was when we mentioned let the children say, let them talk, get listen to them, they make input on what it is that affects them. Thank you so much, everyone. We have another comment someone says a very practical conversation. Thank you so much for this feedback, really. So thank you so much, because it means a lot to us to know that if we come out here with value, there are people out there to receive that value and who appreciate it. So thank you so much. I think play as a concept is worth having a full session about. It is so important. I will go back to see who this is. I really, really, really take this comment. I don't take it lightly. It's very important that we discuss what play is, because what parents now understand as play may not be even what, from the children's perspective, what is play? So I think this is something we really, really need to go back to. So thank you very much for this suggestion. And I can promise you, we will be back with what play is all about. Thank you so much. Okay, I think Temitope is responding to the previous comment, where it is essentially one of the learning tools for children in the early years. Yes, play is one of the learning tools. Thank you so much, everyone, for your comments. I think that's the last comment here. And it's been a lovely time, really. It's been an amazing conversation with you. And for those watching out there live, thank you so much for being with us for this hour. And if you're going to be watching the replay, thank you so much for putting in your comments. Let us know where you are, where you're watching from. And if you haven't joined the Early Years Heartland group, that is one platform where you will get practical, up-to-date information and knowledge with regards to working with your early years child. So please, you can look in the description on the video, and please come on, join us, and let's take the early years to the next level. Okay, so for those of us who were initially on Instagram, I want to apologize. I think we're gonna have to go to Instagram and gear up and apologize on there to everyone who was on there live. But thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate you staying here and listening to us. Okay, any last words, Miss Cassie?
No, it's just been really great. Lovely talking with you. I think we've covered like a lot of stuff today, and hopefully the listeners have got some good ideas and some things that they feel like they can go and try. And feel free, if anything provoked a question or something, and you might think of it later on, feel free to send me a message, just so that I'm happy to go through with a few bits after this live as well. But I hope that it was really useful for everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. So Cassie is there. I am there to answer your questions. Feel free to contact us directly. Feel free to send us direct messages. Just feel free with your questions and your comments, and we will be there. Cassie runs live private tutorials. So do I. So feel free, if you have concerns with your little one, we are there for you, and we're there. We're not going anywhere. We're here to answer all your questions and just to support you through. Thank you so much. Next week, we will be looking at what parents can do if they decide not to send their children to nursery. So I'll be taking that talk, and I look forward to seeing you all here. Thank you so much for joining us. And Cassie, I think we can say bye to our viewers now. And please tell us, give us your feedback, please, and drop a comment below, and let's know what your feedback is. Have you gotten great value? What was the most important value or aspect of this conversation that you're taking home with you? Please leave your comments here, and we will appreciate that very much. I will get in touch with every single one of you who was here. Thank you again.
Thank you,
Right.
everyone.
Okay. All right, Cassie. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. And 30 Seconds with Cassie is my Instagram and Facebook if anybody wants to get in touch.
Yes, please. I've put out the description. Everything, Cassie's details are all in the description for the video. And please click, follow, like, subscribe, and get in touch. We are here for you.
Okay, thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Iman. Thank you, Tokwe. Thank you, Miss Kemi. Thank you so much for being here. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, Cassie.